wouldn't. I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't.
Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
So good.
Make sure you go to hometownstation.com for all the latest and greatest in the Santa Clarita Valley. Speaking of the greatest, we have Dr. Feldman in studio for the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour. Once a month, she stops by. You can find more information on Prima Pediatrics by going to primapediatrics.net, or you can give them a call at 424-9000. Doctor, how are you?
I'm getting over the stomach flu.
Oh, man. And you know what? That's funny because, again, primapediatrics.net, 424-9000 for more information on Prima Pediatrics. And I was actually going to ask you about the stomach flu, and not for myself, but for my children, because we were, and I'll preface this by saying it was really disgusting.
Yes, of course.
And so we were at church. And then we finished up church, and we're like, all right, let's go to, it wasn't the Super Bowl, it was the week before the Super Bowl.
Right.
And we went over to my in-laws we were heading to my in-laws for dinner.
Yeah.
And we're driving, my daughter seemed fine the entire time. My daughter's just over 1, she just turned 1 in November. And she seems totally fine all throughout church. She's, her normal self, running around like a crazy person. And we get to my in-laws' house. We pull into the driveway. And by the way, this is her second time in her brand new car seat. Yeah. Which is perfect. And she starts vomiting, and it was just crazy.
The question is, did her head turn around?
Yeah, that was I was expecting it. Let me tell you, but she just like out of nowhere just got totally sick. It seemed, and I'm wondering, is that symptoms of the stomach flu?
Yes, and the stomach flu, by the way, which everybody kind of understands what that is, it's not influenza.
Okay.
Not the same thing. But most stomach flus are caused by either rotavirus, norovirus, or any of the enteroviruses. They're all virus disease.
Okay, so but it's not like, why do they call it the stomach flu then?
Well, I think, it's a good question. I think it probably refers to the fact that some cases of influenza have gastrointestinal components to them. In fact, most people with influenza will get the respiratory, the fever, and the pukes and the poops all together.
That's fun. Okay. Okay, so maybe, is there any signs beforehand that people can pick up on that may lead to... No? Nothing?
Nothing. It just hits you like a
ton of bricks. It just hits you.
Bang.
Yeah.
1 minute you're fine, and the next minute you're, oh my God, I think I'm going to die.
And for my daughter, I wasn't sure if it was like maybe she ate something that was bad and it was just getting
in the beginning, that's a good question. You can't always tell right in the beginning.
Yeah.
But the only way you're going to know is to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Now, the one that's hitting everybody right now, and I mean, our office has just been full and busy, not only with a whole load of respiratory stuff, which we've been seeing, and a whole load of strep throat, but a whole load of stomach flu, like crazy. This one seems to be the double whammy. I call it the double whammy because it hits you, you're sick, the worst of it's over in the first 24 hours. A day or two later, then you finally feel fine. You think, okay, I'm done. Next day, bang, gets you again.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's like first few days type of sick.
Exactly. And you think,
wow.
What the heck? What is this?
Oh, man.
So it's not fun. Now, the classic double whammy is rotavirus. And I love rotavirus and because it's such a descriptive term. Because if you look at pictures of rotavirus under the electron microscope, the reason they named it that way is because it has a corkscrew tail.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like a screwdriver, a screw that you're going to screw in.
But
the thing is I've always thought of it, I never had any troubles remembering it as a medical student because it hits you like a roto-rooter.
Yeah, it just goes right through you.
Absolutely does. Now, luckily for the little ones, we do have rotavirus vaccine now, which we've been using now for a good 4 or 5 years. And that seems to it has made a huge difference in the morbidity, meaning how many kids have to be hospitalized for rehydration from rotavirus in the first year. But it doesn't protect you long term. But it protects you long enough to keep you from having to go to the hospital when you're an infant, which is, of course, from dying from it, thank God.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But it doesn't protect you from norovirus or norwalk virus or any of the other enteroviruses, all of which can be incredibly nasty.
I'm just going to put my kids in bubbles. I've decided. I'm just going to put them in bubbles and just forget about it.
And here's the thing. This is the thing that you got to remember as a parent. And I can clearly remember, though it's been many, 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 many years ago, my grandchildren are now all in that age group. But I still remember as if it was yesterday that the first 7 years that I had children, almost every waking moment that I spent not in my office, I spent in another physician's office with my kids.
Yeah.
Because they were always sick. In fact, my youngest had what we called third child syndrome, because my oldest didn't get sick for the first 3 years practically. He was an only for a while.
Yeah.
And then his sister was born when he was 19 months old, but she only got sick till she was past a year. But when number 3 came along, she had a sister age 3 and a brother age 4.5.
Dirty hands.
Well, they came home from school with every bug in the world.
Yep.
And that poor child did not get well from the age of 3 weeks to the age of 15 months. Literally, she'd maybe have 1 or 2 days of health before she'd go into the next thing that they brought home. And I thought, my God, I was the typical crazy pediatrician mother. I was asking our pediatrician to do an immune workup on her. I was convinced there was nothing wrong with this child's immune system. And she looks at her, she says, no, it's third child syndrome. But to make you feel better, I'll do it, and then you'll know she's fine.
Yeah.
So, of course, she did, and she was fine. The interesting thing is, and she got everything those first 4 or 5 years. I mean, this kid was a kind of sickly kid, but she's the only one of my 3 who had a perfect attendance record in school.
Really? It's because she got sick
early. She got it
early.
all before she started school.
That's funny. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to talk more stomach flu.
Yes.
But like before, during, and after.
Absolutely.
All of that. We're going to go deep into the stomach flu, and we'll be as least graphic as possible. Maybe we'll get graphic. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't want to get graphic.
Okay, good. All right, more Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour coming up next.
When Santa Clarita stood up and demanded choice in education, Albert Einstein Academy listened. Preparing students from kindergarten through high school for an ever-changing world, Albert Einstein Academy teaches to the whole child through hands-on classwork, character-building exercises, and community service. With smaller class size, arts, foreign language, and state-of-the-art technology, it's no surprise that Albert Einstein Academy performs in the top 1% in the state, just 3 years after opening its doors. Visit aealas.org and discover the Einstein difference.
This is Barry McKeever, and I want to invite you to join me for my new show, The Rock, every Sunday night from 5 to 7 right here on your hometown station. We'll feature some of the best current Christian music, as well as some of your favorites like Third Day and Jars of Clay, and more. We'll also feature topics and guests from local churches and local Christian artists. So be sure to tune in Sunday nights 5 to 7 for The Rock on KHTS. The Rock, inspirational music, local Christian talk.
Walk into Planet Yogurt in Valencia, you'll be able to experience the finest quality creamy yogurt in a variety of flavors. Choose from an assortment of savory toppings, including orchard fresh fruits, cut daily for quality and freshness. The bright, trendy, self-service environment makes it easy to create treats that cater to your taste buds. Planet Yogurt is out of this world. Planet Yogurt, at the corner of McBean and Magic Mountain in the Promenade Town Center Plaza.
Hi, I'm Congressman Buck McKeon, and I've been fighting liberals in Washington since before it was cool. This year, it's time to send a new conservative leader to carry on the tradition. That's why I'm supporting Republican Tony Strickland to be our next congressman. Tony's a true believer in economic freedom and individual liberty, a fighter who will balance the budget, stop wasteful spending, and repeal Obamacare once and for all. Tony has the guts to make these tough choices now, so America remains strong for future generations. His father served proudly in Vietnam and Korea, so we can count on Tony to continue our proud tradition of peace through strength in honor of America's greatest generation. Again, this is Congressman Buck McKeon, and I ask you to join me in supporting conservative Tony Strickland for Congress.
I'm Tony Strickland, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message. Paid for by Strickland for Congress. TonyStrickland.com.
KHTS. I feel good. I knew that I would not. I feel good.
Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour. We're sharing horror stories off air.
So good.
Talking stomach flu.
So good.
So there's going to be some horror
I
stories.
got it.
Oh, there's some real good horror
Yeah,
stories.
yeah, yeah.
But we won't get too graphic,
Yeah,
we promise.
exactly. Yeah, the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour. PrimaPediatrics.net for more information, or give them a call, 424-9000. They're over there on Via Princesa, just across from Costco over there. So,
Right, so if you're going shopping and you get sick, come on over.
yeah, you can just walk across the street. Perfect.
That's right.
Okay. So my daughter, I'm going to use my daughter as an example.
It's a great example
Yeah.
because it's classic.
And so at what point do you, because I wasn't sure from right at the start if it was food poisoning or if it was a full-on stomach flu. And how long do we know? How long does it take till we know that? And
Sometimes you won't know it.
Okay.
I mean, if the child only gets the puking and doesn't get fever and diarrhea with it, you'll never know. The one that does it, the food poisoning ones that cause the pukes without the poops generally are Staph aureus, which is the one that you get in the mayonnaise stuff that sits out, like you had potato salad at the church picnic after it was out for 2 hours.
yeah, something like that.
Or something that I love. I love the name of this bug. It's my favorite. It's called Be Serious.
Really?
And I said, seriously? Yeah, be serious. And when my daughter first told me about it, when she was in medical school many years ago, I said, oh, come on. And she says, no, Mom, it is. Be serious. Oh, be serious. Back and forth. It's who's on first, what's on second.
Yeah, exactly.
But the name, it's Bacillus cereus, Cereus. And somebody must have had a good sense of humor when they named it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, but that was the one that can occur within an hour after eating the tainted food. So none of those are particularly serious unless you're immune suppressed, but they sure make you sick.
Oof.
Yeah, and there's not going to be any way to tell when your child first gets the puking whether it's a short episode of food poisoning, which basically, if you puke it all out, the whole idea is you empty your stomach of the poisons and you're gone.
Yeah.
Or whether or not it's going to turn into a full-blown stomach flu, or whether you've got the variation of the stomach flu that only gives you the vomiting and nothing else. But if you get fever and or diarrhea, then you know.
Okay, and how long does it take until you'll notice that?
It depends. Some kids will get it right away.
Okay.
And some kids won't get it till later. I have to tell you a really funny story. We're going to exchange horror stories.
Okay, that's fine.
Now, this is when my daughter, the pediatrician, was 2 years old. We went up to Mammoth, and she started puking, but she always had like a tender stomach with the mountains and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, fine. No big deal. And she started running a fever. Okay, so she's got some stomach flu. And I know how to take that, so we gave her Pedialyte, small sips, very, frequently, and no more than an ounce every 20 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. And by the end of the second day, beginning of the third, I said, it's awfully long. She didn't have anything else. She just said the puking and fever. I said, all right, I give up. We're going to go to the doctors. So we went to the doctors, and can you imagine my chagrin as a pediatrician mother to find out my kid had an ear infection? Hello! So there you go. She was puking and febrile because her ear was flaming.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
A kid who's 2 isn't going to say my ear hurts.
Yeah.
She wasn't even 2, actually. I think she was like 19 months, although she was a talker. But she just, it had upset her middle ear, so she felt nauseated all the time, and she was puking, and she had fever.
Oh, wow.
So there you go. So not all that pukes and is febrile is stomach flu.
Yeah.
The other big masquerader for stomach flu is strep.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. The kids can be not complaining at all of a sore throat, and they're puking and have fever, even a little diarrhea, and it's strep. Or they complain of a bellyache. The classic presentation of strep is a bellyache.
Really?
Yep. Now, not in older people. In adults, we generally get the sore throat. But well before you get the sore throat, you get the bellyache.
So is that ultimately going to turn into a sore throat for the kids, or
Eventually yeah.
it will, or
Yeah, or it may not be the predominant thing. Some kids, everybody has a different part of their body that they pay attention to.
Yeah.
And kids are no different from adults on that. Some kids recognize they got a sore throat immediately. And other kids, it manifests itself more as an upset stomach.
Wow.
I'm one of those stomach people. How did I learn all this? When I was an intern.
Oh, okay.
I had such bad abdominal pain that I eventually crumpled at 2:30 in the morning on my way to the x-ray to look for a patient's x-ray, and I couldn't stand back up again. It was killing me in my right lower quadrant. So they picked me up, put me on a gurney, and sent me to the surgery side and called somebody else. And the surgeon, I had a high white count, and I was point tender on the right lower quadrant. And in those days, we didn't have CAT scans for that. And I said, well, we think we ought to go in and take out your appendix. And I looked at them and I said, don't you touch me. Don't touch me. I'm fine. All I need to do is get some sleep and some IV fluids. If it starts getting worse, you'll be the first to know. And it got better, but I still had fever, but the bellyache went away. And about a day later, I suddenly noticed my throat was hurting. I had strep.
Really?
Yep.
That's wild.
It's crazy. People don't expect it. But the classic presentation in a little kid especially is bellyache and fever. Not so much the vomiting, although sometimes you can get the vomiting.
So yeah, you don't even know if you do have stomach flu if your child starts vomiting. So
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So you got to kind of keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Okay. So all right, coming up next, we're gonna take a break.
Okay.
But I was wondering maybe during the stomach flu, we're going heavy stomach flu on Prima Pediatric Healthcare Hour, and during what do we do for the kids during what foods are good, what foods aren't good. Those type of things.
Oh, I'll fill you in on that one for sure.
We'll do that coming up next on the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour on AM 1220 KHTS.